Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of Talking with Dr. Donna. I hope you can hear me. Um, Even if you can't see me, I thank you so much tonight for being on and being present. Let's see if you can hear me. Just put something in the chat just to let me know that you're hearing me okay tonight. Thank you so much again for joining another episode of Talking with Dr. Donna. And I am Dr. Donna. Of course, I am your host. And I am happy that you are here. As you know, my goal is to build generational health. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about COVID updates, but mostly we are going to talk about self-care and how I am taking care of myself. Great. Thank you, Sharice. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me. And how I am going to be taking care of myself this summer. As you know, we've been doing a lot of work with coronavirus, around coronavirus, making sure that you all are staying aware and updated to what's happening with coronavirus. And I thank you for your support. But what we're going to do here at the Talking with Dr. Donna show is we're going to take a summer break. Yes, I'm considering myself like Oprah Winfrey, having seasons. So we are finishing up our first season of Talking with Dr. Donna. We have been giving you videos weekly for almost a straight year now. I'm super excited and happy about that. But it's time for us to take a break. So we are going to take a break. This is going to be my final show for this season. We're going to take June and July and August off to revamp, to come back bigger and better and stronger, to be able to continue to give you updates, not only on coronavirus, but updates on how to live a healthy life. And as you know, as proponent of generational health, this is what I talk about all the time, right? Generational health is making sure that you are healthier, not just mentally, but emotionally, physically, spiritually, as well as environmentally. We cannot be our best selves if we are fatigued, if we are run down, if we are tired. And so I want to make sure that when I come and do a Talking with Dr. Donna, that I am giving my best self. And right now, Dr. Donna is tired. So we're going to finish for this season, and we're going to come back in September, bigger and better, and we're going to have a whole new look. I'm so excited. We're crafting that right now. But more importantly, most importantly, I want to make sure to guarantee you that I am not going to stop giving you the type of information that you need to get through this time. So I'm not going to leave you high and dry. I'm still going to continue to give you updates via Twitter, through my Facebook page, through my Instagram page. And you can also come on over to Clubhouse. If you're not already a member of Clubhouse, join the club, and I will be giving Clubhouse talks regularly as well. We're just giving the production team, who's been working so diligently during this time, and myself just a bit of a reprieve. But enough of that. Thank you so much, everyone, for the happy birthdays. For those of you who don't know, my birthday is on Saturday, and I'm super excited to be celebrating my birthday this weekend. So thank you for the early birthday wishes. So let's talk about coronavirus, because I do think, again, my goal is to give you information and updates about coronavirus, about how to be healthy. I'm going to talk to you about coronavirus, and then I'm going to encourage you to do what I'm doing, which is to take some time to make sure you care for yourself. So let's talk a little bit about coronavirus. And at the end of this talk, we're going to post the slides that you can be able to see these updates that I'm going to be giving to you today. So coronavirus is not over. We're not out of the work. We're not finished. It's not done. So I want you all to remain diligent, okay? The great news is that the number of people who are being infected with coronavirus on a daily basis is declining. That's fantastic news. That's what we've been waiting for. And when you look at places like living facilities, with skilled nursing facilities, convalescent homes. When you look in the prison system and you see once the number of cases that were prior to vaccination and then getting vaccines into those areas, and then the sharp decline in the number of positive cases, that is your best, actually, like really good experiment to see exactly the effects of the vaccine. The vaccine works. The vaccine helps to decrease the spread of coronavirus. And for that reason, that is why we are continuing to encourage people to take the vaccine. So our numbers to date, we're still, over about 3 million total cases, about 62,000, and this is in the entire state of California. 62,000 deaths, and we're still looking at getting our people vaccinated even more. We still have a little bit over 39,000 people who have been vaccinated in Alameda County. Though this is what's also phenomenal, and I hope you're patting yourselves on the back for those of you who are vaccinated, because this is because of you. You're participating in this, is that we're almost 78% vaccinated. That's amazing. I'm going to give a clap to everyone in Alameda County who has gotten their vaccine, and we appreciate you and thank you for that. And so as we continue to get vaccinated, we're going to continue to see this virus start to decrease. And so that's great news. But we know that coronavirus impacts our communities differently. And so even though we're doing better, we want to make sure that you continue to be diligent. Because if you look at the death rate in the statewide of California, right, we see that the death rate for Latino people is about 21% higher than the average number of deaths across the state. And the death rate for Black people is about 8% higher across the state. The case rate for Pacific Islanders, is about 35% higher than the average statewide number of cases. And so coronavirus, that's the reason why we talk about it so much here on Talking with Dr. Donna, is because we are a person of color. I'm a person of color, right? As a Black person, I am interested in what's happening in the Black community. And we are dying at an 8% higher rate than the statewide average. That's not okay. That's not okay. And one of the ways that we can battle that is by vaccines. And I know, folks, we talk about this all the time. I know for some of you, it is really difficult to trust the scientific and the medical community. I understand that. I really do. But I also want you to hear and understand that there are a lot of people who have been giving this vaccine a once over, right? Paying attention to the vaccine and saying, is this vaccine safe? I mean, the historically Black universities, the medical schools of the historic Black universities, Meharry, Morehouse, have looked at this. They assembled their own team of scientists to study the data of these vaccines, the science of the vaccine, the efficacy or how good it works of the vaccines. These were all studied very carefully by multiple people who think just like you, who are saying, let's make sure that they're not trying to pull the wool over our eyes with how good this vaccine is. And let's make sure that we are not going to be the guinea pigs for this vaccine. So lots of people paid really close attention, really smart people paid really close attention to this vaccine. And so while I completely think that it is wise that you have questions about this vaccine, that you have questions about whether or not you want to give this vaccine to your teenager, I completely understand. But let me tell you, lots of people have looked at it. Lots of people have studied it, and we all have come to the conclusion that with the choices of being vaccinated and not being vaccinated, the wiser choice is to be vaccinated. Okay. And so, as we look at our cases here in Alameda County, we are still looking at the age demographic that has the highest number of cases. You know, it hasn't changed. It's these 18 to 30-year-olds. You folk out there that are between the ages of 18 and 30 remain true to having the highest number of cases. So the thing about that age group is that even though they have the highest number of cases, they will not have the highest number of deaths, right? We've talked about this before. That's because they're usually healthy. They don't have a lot of medical conditions. Their immune systems are strong. They're going to bounce back. Some of them, but some of them are actually having severe complications, are having strokes because of this virus. And then you have to deal with the long-term impacts of having a stroke. So it's not that you're scot-free if you get coronavirus, but you are not probably going to die. You will, however, have the possibility of having what we call long haulers, being a long hauler, having this virus in your system for a long time and causing some non-predictable fashion, having side effects that and symptoms very similar to when you had coronavirus the first time. So you're not immune to it, and if you're in that 18 to 30-year-old age group, just means that you're not going to die from it. So we appreciate you to get the vaccine, please. When you look at the number of the age group that is, the highest vaccinated, it's not that age group. Of course, it's that middle of the road number age demographic. And when you look at the total number of those who are vaccinated the most, of course, it is going to be the people who are a little bit older, right? Because we focused a lot more on that 75 plus age group. So a lot of them are highly vaccinated. But I want to talk to you again about the disparities, because the disparities are not just on the side of whether or not you are how you get it and how it impacts our community if you get coronavirus, but there's also disparities on the other end, which is not being vaccinated, right? That's why we went through so much effort and energy to make sure that we were able to vaccinate our communities. I want to applaud the California Office of Emergency Services through the Office of the Governor. I want to applaud FEMA. I want to applaud our Alameda County Public Health Department, because they recognized that these large vaccine pods were not the way to go. Nobody was going to run over to the Coliseum to get the vaccine. So they brought it into the community. At this point, because of the community pods, if you've wanted a vaccine, it's been available. If you still want a vaccine, there's plenty of places to get the vaccine. So it is not an issue of accessibility, right? Getting us over the hump and getting us closer to that 100% of vaccines is not because of accessibility. Now it's the people who really either have significant questions still, and like I said before, I'm with you. I understand. Hopefully you're watching my show. You've looked at my videos. You're paying attention to other people's shows and videos, and you know that what we're dealing with the vaccine, or you just don't want the vaccine at all, and there's nothing that I can say or do that is going to change your mind. And I'm okay with that, right? I want you to be able to make the best choice for you, but recognize that when you're not vaccinated, that allows that virus to continue circulating in our community. And as you heard, 8% higher rate of death in the Black community, almost 11% higher rate in the Latin community. And if you're a member of one of those two communities, you being unvaccinated is presenting a problem for other people within that community. So I want you to think about that as you're thinking. If you're also worried about your test, are you testing positive? Multiple places you can get tests done as well throughout Alameda County. We talked a little bit about weighing the risks of getting vaccinated. Again, temporary side effects from getting vaccinated, but it's protecting you. These vaccines were really good, and it's still protecting you. So if I had to weigh the risks between getting the vaccine with understandably not knowing what's going to happen in 10 years, if the vaccine is going to have caused some problems, if I need a booster, we don't worry about those things when it comes to some other issues like vaccines. Like today, I went to the doctor's office and my doctor said, I'm going to give you the shingles vaccine. And I said, okay, well, what are some of the side effects? She told me some of the side effects of the shingles vaccine. And because I want to have a great birthday this weekend and not be ill, I opted not to get the shingles vaccine for this weekend. But best believe when I come back next week, I will get that shingles vaccine because it is to protect me in my age group from getting shingles, which are painful and which are going to probably cause me to be ill for more than the day or the day and a half that I might feel ill from taking the vaccine. So that's the kind of coronavirus update. That's the quick and dirty on the coronavirus, right? We know it's still here. We know that the state is planning on opening up next week. The state is saying, hey, we're in such great shape that we're going to just open everything and allow you all to just, live your life as it was prior to March of 2020 when we went into complete shutdown. I'm all for living life, but I'm telling you right now, I highly encourage you, continue to wear your mask. I don't care what the CDC is recommending in terms of not needing a mask. It just doesn't make good scientific sense. So I want you to continue to wear your mask if you're around people you don't know. If you're indoors in tight open spaces and you're, with people who are unmasked, again, you're not sure that these people who are not wearing a mask are not wearing a mask because they're 100% fully vaccinated, right? Have had their 2 doses of vaccine or 1 dose of vaccine. And they've had their 2 weeks in between. And so that they're what we consider fully vaccinated. So you don't know if they're not wearing their masks because they're fully vaccinated or because they just didn't feel like wearing a mask. So if you want to protect yourself, because again, what have I said over and over and over, which I hope you have learned and heard, just because you have the vaccine does not protect you from getting the virus, right? You can still get a very mild form of the virus. You can still test positive for the virus. It just means that this virus is not going to probably kill you, right? That's what your vaccine has done, but it has not given you a force shield of protection from the virus. So for those reasons, I say if you're indoors in tight spaces, wear a mask. If you're outdoors and you're around people that you know and you know that you're all vaccinated, don't wear a mask. I think that's beautiful. It's great. What's the point of getting the vaccine if we can't have any freedom? And so I say if you're around people you know are fully vaccinated, then yes, you can go ahead and not wear a mask. But still in those tight spaces, Lord, I've been watching these NBA playoffs. I cannot believe all of these people who are sitting in that audience watching these games completely unmasked, screaming, yelling, sitting next to each other. It is amazing. So even though the state is going to open up, I am encouraging you to still be smart about it. Make sure that you know who you're in the company of. And if you don't know the people that are around you, then wear a mask so that you are safe. Okay. And so as we start to open up again, thank you, Elisita. I see you have a question in the chat, and let me just break here and say again, if you have a question, please go ahead and write it in the chat and I will try to answer them before we close out tonight. So the one couple of things that I want to say again is that I want to encourage you during this time to not neglect your health around your preventative care. Okay. We have just come out of a pandemic. It was difficult to get preventative care last year. I understand that. I understand that you may not have gotten your mammogram. You may be like me, you turned 50 and they wouldn't even give you your colonoscopy because they weren't doing it last year. You may have needed to get some blood work done, and they were, weren't doing that last year. But hey, it's a brand new year. And so every year you need to make sure that you see your physician, and you need to make sure because you want to check your weight. I know I got on that scale today. And then after I got on the scale, they checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure was high. I said, well, you should have checked my blood pressure before I got on the scale. That's the problem. But gave me 5 minutes, rechecked my blood pressure, and I was super excited to see that my blood pressure had come down and it was normal. So praise God for that. But thankfully, going to the doctor allowed me to have my weight checked, have my blood pressure checked, check and see what my oxygen level was like, right? Check my pulse. And then my doctor, who I love, shout out to you, Dr. Tezuki at Kaiser Oakland. You're my girl. Gives me the once over, right? Allows me to look and check. It checks everything, checks my heart, lungs, abdomen, checks everything. And then I do my annual lab work, right? So you got to check your annual, your hemoglobin A1C. Let's make sure that you don't, that you're not becoming a type 2 diabetic. You're not pre-diabetic. You won't know that by just looking at yourself. You may have a suspicion, but you won't know for certain. The way you know for certain is to get lab work. So having a hemoglobin A1C every year is a way for you to screen to see just exactly how well you're doing. You also want to check for women who are still having your menstrual cycles, right? We want to check our iron levels to make sure we're not anemic, because we are menstruating monthly and that is causing blood loss. And you want to make sure that you're not anemic. So you get that checked, get your iron studies checked, get your thyroid checked, right? Sometimes, we laugh and joke and say if we've gained weight, it's because our thyroids is not working optimally, because your thyroid helps to regulate your weight. Well, it might be true. It might have an impact on your weight. So you want to check what your thyroid function is like. You also want to check things as you're getting older. You want to check your calcium levels. You want to know your vitamin D levels, right? So you want to be able, as you're getting older, men and women, to supplement. Right? You don't want osteoporosis, which is when your bones get weak and brittle. So you want to have those numbers checked, right? So it's important to see your doctor. And I want you, as we're getting back on track, I want you to get back on track with your health, because there are other health considerations for you to think about other than this pandemic, this coronavirus that we're living in, right? Making sure that you are checking for diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, right? You want to get your cancer screenings. Ladies, you want to get your mammograms, right? Every year you should have a mammogram. And now I know sometimes they give you a little pushback to say, oh, we don't need to get a mammogram annually. You can get it every couple of years if you've had a normal mammogram. And what I tell my doctor every time she says that I can wait for some period of time, I say 2 words to her. And these are the words that I say. I'm Black. I have high risk factors for almost every single disease. So I understand that I don't have to get it every year, but I'm Black and I want it every year. So get your screening mammogram done every year, and, colonoscopy. Right? Like I said, last year I skipped it because they weren't doing them. So this year, lucky me, I get to have a colonoscopy. The recommendations, now this is something that you may or may not be aware of, but the newer recommendations are for African Americans, actually for everyone, sorry. It used to be just for African Americans. Now the recommendation is for everyone because they're seeing a higher incidence of colon cancer. The recommendation now is for everyone to start getting screening for their colon cancer at age 45. Now, that doesn't mean a colonoscopy for everyone at age 45, but it does mean getting that stool testing starting at age 45, because so many younger people are being found to have colon cancer. You won't know that, and you won't get your screening if you don't see your doctor every year. So these are reasons why you want to see your doctor. Men, June is Men's Health Month. So men, I'm going to talk to you for a moment. You need to make sure that you get your prostate checked. And you want to get your prostate specific antigen, or your PS, like Sam, A, PSA. That's your prostate specific antigen. Alone, it may not tell you everything, that may not tell you the full story, but it's a part of the puzzle. It's a part of the picture. So all of the men who are listening tonight, all of the women who have men in your lives, your spouse, your brothers, your nephews, you want to make sure that you encourage them to get a prostate specific antigen test and to get a PSA done every single year. Because as a screening, it's good to be able to check what your PSA is this year and compare it to what your PSA is for the following year. So that's a placeholder right there for you men to get your PSA. Also important when you go see your doctor every year, men, just like we women have to have that uncomfortable mammogram, guess what? You need to have that uncomfortable prostate exam. I know you don't look forward to it, but let me tell you, it can save your life. Prostate cancer is a high prevalence in the African American community with about our men. So, all right, I see a couple questions in the chat. What about young men that are 23? That's a little young to get a prostate specific antigen test. Or to really get a prostate exam, but just a general exam, I recommend for anyone. What men who are 23 should be checking are their testicles, because that's where the highest incidence of testicular cancer is in our young men. So you want to teach your boys, just like you teach your girls, to do their breast self-exams every year, every month. You want to do your breast self-exam. Most of breast cancers are found by people who did their breast self-exams. And so likewise, we teach our boys to do testicular exams. So you want to feel their testicles, make sure they're smooth, again, because that's the incidence of testicular cancer is highest in our young men. Let's see if there's another question. Yes, Annette, 45, I know. I recently traveled out of the state and was around a whole bunch of people without a mask. I am vaccinated, but should I isolate myself for 2 weeks or get tested? I would say you should isolate yourself probably for at least, 5 days. And then if you want to go out, I would take a test. You're vaccinated, and so it's less likely that you're, again, going to be ill, but you can still spread it to others. So I would give yourself at least 4 to 5 days. And if you don't have any symptoms, then you get a test. And if your test is negative, then I think you're safe to not isolate yourself and be able to go out in the world. Okay, so what have we talked about tonight? We talked about some coronavirus updates. Stay the course. It's so important for you all to stay the course. Continue to be diligent. To continue to respect this virus, because it is continuing to kill people. It's continuing to cause people to have significant diseases. It's continuing to hospitalize people. Every day across this country and across this world, people are continuing to die from this virus. So continue to respect it. Wear your mask. Try to stay away from socializing in large group, particularly with people you do not know and you do not know their vaccination status. If you're indoors, I still recommend, and you're around people that you don't know, I still recommend you wearing that mask. If you're outdoors and you're around people you don't know, I say try to maintain some distance. If you don't maintain distance, then I would suggest you wear a mask. We still need to continue to respect the virus. Most importantly, during this summer time, I want you to take the time to catch up on your health maintenance. So things that you may not have done last year, you may have postponed it. I want you to make sure you see your doctor this year. and not just your medical doctor to get all these tests that we talked about. Make sure that you get your screening exams done and make sure that you're okay. But I also want you to see your dentist. I know we hate our dentist. I mean, I love my dentist, but I also hate her because every time I go, there's something that some tooth in the back that I didn't floss well enough in, and something that we need to do. But that's good because your gum health, right, and your teeth health is actually a part of your whole body health. You have gum disease, that also is a risk factor for heart disease. So you do want to take care of your mouth just like you take care of the rest of your body. I see a question, Rich Hunter. Should men at a certain age get a colonoscopy instead of a colon or feces test? That's a really great question. I think that it depends on your family history and what your risk group is. Let's say you have no family history of colon cancer. You are healthy. You have got a fecal test, and they have been negative for, I believe they do 2 or 3 years. Then once you hit a certain age, your doctor might say, let's get a colonoscopy because it's been like 3 years between the time that you had a colonoscopy, and then they may schedule you one. That's if you have like 0 risk. Of course, the more risk factors you have for colon cancer, the more they're going to, recommend in terms of your frequency of getting a colonoscopy. So it really depends. I think the fecal test is a great screening, right? And so you do want to make sure you get that test. If this is what my friend, who is a Black GI doctor, says. You need to get a colonoscopy at least once, right? So that is what he recommends, and I'm going to go by what he says. So he says when you turn, like he started at 45, he says when you turn 45, for Black men and Black women, I want to give you a colonoscopy. I want to make sure you're fine, because if I see something, right, that's what's considered precancerous, then I know to pay attention and watch it closely. But if you've never had that test, then you don't know if there are some things that are sitting in your colon that are precancerous that they could remove. And then they could, what we call do surveillance, which is monitoring you more often, more frequently. So I would say if you've never had a colonoscopy and you're over the age of 45, I would ask your physician to schedule you for a colonoscopy. If you have had a colonoscopy and it was totally normal, and you've been doing the fecal studies, but it's been a few years since you've had another colonoscopy, I would request one. And again, use my 2 favorite words. I'm Black. I hope that answers your question. So thank you again for tuning in and listening to Talking with Dr. Donna. Again, my goal is to build general health, and that means that starting with you, right where you are, you have got to be the healthiest you can possibly be, and that you can then pass on good health and good health habits to all of the generations behind you. But it starts with you right where you are, whatever generation you are in. So please, during this time, take care of yourself, take care of your families, wear a mask, be diligent. Continue to pay attention to your health. We will be rerunning episodes of Talking with Dr. Donna that I think are important. Particularly, there's a great episode of cardiovascular health with my friend, Dr. Rollington Ferguson. We will be rerunning that. We'll be running the episode with Dr. David Breland, talking about how to care for our children who might have struggles with their gender identity. We're going to rerun our mental health focus with Sanji Walker, who gave some great tips on how to keep ourselves sane during this time. And I am taking a tip from her and a page from her book, which is that you need to recognize, listen to your body. I learned this the hard way. For so many of you out there may remember that I had a high blood pressure crisis in 2018. Out of nowhere. One day I was totally fine. The next day I'm in the hospital for 5 days and can't get my blood pressure controlled. That's when I understood clearly that if you don't pay attention to your body when it's trying to give you really small little signals, hey, take a break. Hey, you're tired. Hey, get some rest. Then you keep ignoring those small signals, then a big signal is coming. So I thank God that that big signal was not a stroke, but I was extremely close. And for that reason, when I hear my body talking to me, I pay attention. And so I pray that you will do the same. So have a blessed evening. Again, continue to stay tuned, Talking with Dr. Donna. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And like I said, come on over to Clubhouse. I'll be doing some talks there as well, and continuing to give you some information and letting you know you can always continue to ask questions. You can go to Talking with Dr. Donna at gmail.com. If you have questions, you can go to my Facebook page, Talking with Dr. Donna, our Twitter, Talking with Dr. Donna, and ask questions. And I will continue to make sure that you stay informed and get all of your questions answered. So thank you once again for tuning in. I wish you a fantastic evening, and I hope that you pay attention to yourself and your body so that we can build generational health and stop this cycle of premature deaths in our community. God bless you. I love you, and I will see you soon.